As someone who grew up in the 90s, I'm a huge fan of the X-Men and Ren and Stimpy. What if I just combined them together into a lovely little illustration sandwich?
How I love to lick your creamy center.
In my head, I think it's a great idea, but I can't always trust what's going on up there. So there's only one way to find out. We're just gonna have to try it. So I hope you will join me on this nostalgia. So I hope you'll join me on this nostalgia-filled journey where we try to find out the mystery of whether an X-Men can look like a Ren and Stimpy character. Okay, the first thing we need to do is to gather some reference images. So I'm just gonna Google image search Ren and Stimpy characters, and then just try to find one that maybe has some Wolverine vibes, because I'm gonna draw Wolverine first, because he's my favorite. All right, so right off the bat, I'm seeing George Liquor, remembering him as an angry little man, and that has some Wolverine energy. Wolverine is a little guy, and he's angry. Bub. Oh yeah, let's look at this guy. Oh, here we go, look at this. All right, this is George Liquor looking especially angry. Swinging a golf club, but what I'm thinking is we'll get rid of the golf club. The fist is up there, we'll just have claws coming out. His proportions are Wolverine-ish. He's a short, stocky little guy. I think all we gotta do is just like put the costume on this guy, and I think that's all. Now we just need some simple Wolverine images. I could probably just do it from my head. My childhood involved a lot of Wolverine drawings. Just to make sure, I'm gonna get a reference. This is a good one. It's very simple. Gets a clear shot of all of the costume, all the details, and it's roughly the same angle, which is good. Just seeing them side by side, I can already feel like this is gonna work. Like, look at them. This guy has big Wolverine energy.
I feel the way I feel, bub.
Because this pose and proportions are all so good, I'm just gonna trace this to use as like a starting point and then build it into Wolverine. This hand is very Ren and Stimpy.
These dirty hands.
Just weird, bent, I don't know, like a rage hand or something. It's just really funny to me. And I definitely want to include that. I feel like it's a very Ren and Stimpy thing that will really express that this is a Ren and Stimpy character. I love the stylization in these characters where the leg is just this tiny little curve. I think the head shape is kind of perfect. I'm gonna ignore the ear because we're not gonna have an ear on Wolverine because he's gonna have a mask over his top. Over his ears. His ears are covered by his mask. Really like how this eye over here is like bulging out. And then all these like little wrinkle details. I don't know how many we're gonna be able to include because the mask will be on, but I'm gonna put them here in my reference. I also like the dramatic difference in pupil size because I feel like it's just that like angry eye twitch thing. And then let's just take a moment to appreciate this nose and how much it looks
Blasted salami.
It's something special. Let's just
I can smell it.
trace this peepee nose. It's kind of a fun experience, like tracing over this too, because it really makes you appreciate the style of the character and just like how quirky and weird they are. Okay, so now that I have this, I can use this as like the starting point to start making Wolverine. So the most important Wolverine feature besides the claws is this mask thing, these like pointy ear things. And then this one's gotta be sort of curved back. And then it's gonna come down over the face, down to like the chin line, I think. And then so it comes down below the eyes and over the nose. The nose to me feels like it needs to be in there. So I think what I'm gonna do is have the mask not fully cover the nose. Like maybe it can kind of come over the bridge of the nose like this. And that way we can still have the, So I think this head shape is working pretty well here. And I was going to start working on the arms and I started thinking, you know, Wolverine is an X-Men, he's got some big muscles, and George Liquor, although he's got Wolverine vibes, he doesn't have the muscles. Remember those crazy wrestlers in Ren and Stimpy? Anyway, this is one of those wrestlers, and I want to use this as a reference to put some muscles on this Wolverine because he needs them. All right, to see if it might work, I'm literally just going to copy and paste it on there. Actually, I think maybe I like the arm bent a little bit. I think it keeps that forward momentum. I just think it needs to come up a little bit so it's not obscuring that other leg because there's hardly anything to it. think that's going to work. So let's go ahead and use this and redraw it to fit this shape. I want to lean into this crazy exaggeration, having these like extra lumps, then that dramatic change to the wrist, then these ridiculous veins. You may have noticed I draw ridiculous veins like this on characters sometimes, or even on like eyeballs for like bloodshot eyes. Clearly this was inspired by watching Ren and Stimpy a lot as a kid. So although I do like the way this arm is looking with that little fist, I do want to try to use that other hand. I talked about how much I liked that angry, gnarled hand thing. Let's see if we can make that work on this hand without it getting too complicated. Okay, so I'm thinking we can make it work by just tweaking it a little bit so that the pinky doesn't overlay weirdly on the back leg like it does here. Let's try maybe having it just sort of tucked behind the other one. Okay, I think that still has the rage vibes. So I realized with the hand across the front of his torso, it was going to obscure the little X belt. And I feel like that's an important feature that I want to include. So I rotated the arm back. I think this actually works better. I feel like it's a kind of Wolverine pose where he's like this. The next thing I need to figure out is this shoulder pad shield thing. We can just make it sort of like a round thing like this. Wolverine's is a little bit more pointy, but the Ren and Stimpy character is a little more rounded, so I think this will be good. So now that we got a big muscly right arm, we got to figure out how to address this left arm, even though we're only seeing like the forearm part of it. I think we got to look at some reference. This arm shape might be pretty good. Look at, like, this is cartoons for chaos. Look at this guy pooping. I'm also seeing some great reference for the 5 o'clock shadow situation, which I think is going to be really good for Wolverine. Let's see how this shape works. It's a little more bulbous than the other hand. And also this hand is now looking a little small compared to this one. So I think we got to make some adjustments all around there. So like this other muscle man that I was referencing, his hands aren't tiny. They're almost as big as his head. I think the answer is not to make the hand smaller. I think what I'll do is try to make this hand over here a little bigger. I think that visually balances that hand because it's closer to us. All right, let's get some of these costume details on here. Let's start with the belt, the X placement. And then of course we need undies over the pants, crucial detail. Now we've got to deal with these wings on the boots. Why does he have wings on his boots? He doesn't fly or anything. He doesn't even run fast. This is going to be tricky because we got tiny little legs here, not a lot of room. So I think we want to get this feature on there, but we might have to simplify it and minimize it a little bit. Maybe it's just like a little hint at a wing. I think we can only have the back ones or it's going to get a little too busy. All right, and then Wolverine's got those like stripes that come over his shoulders, and then he's got the almost like claw mark stripes. So this one, where does it come down? Ends right about at his vulva nipple. So if this was his torso, we probably need to put some of these pectoral lines anyway to give some muscles there.
All it needs is
One,
slicing.
a two, a three. Well, that's pretty good. The other thing that's crucial about Wolverine is he's got hairy arms. He's hairy. So we're gonna have to add some of those hairs in here. Can do that more in the final stage. Have a couple danglers like that. I think we're ready to tighten this up. All right, so here's the final line work.
Who the hell?
If I'm being perfectly honest, it's better than I thought it was going to turn out. But now we got to color it. I think this is really going to bring it to life. I got some other reference images here that I brought in. I grabbed some Ren and Stimpy images because I thought these colors would be good reference points. I like the yellow on this fish goo, and the blue of Stimpy's nose I think is perfect for the blue in Wolverine's suit. We'll probably use Stimpy's red for the belt. I grabbed this other guy because I like his 5 o'clock shadow situation. And then maybe this pink for his pee-pee nose. I think for the skin tone, I want to use Ren's skin. It's a little bit peachier. I think I might want to try something in between Ren and this muscle man up here. That other one was a little too yellowy and was blending in with his suit a little much. So I'm noticing on these characters that these like shadow lines are softer than the other lines. So that's not something I would typically do, but again, I'm trying to draw in this Ren and Stimpy style for this. So I think what I'll do is maybe just erase some tone out of it don't even know what brush I would use to do this because that's not something that I typically do. Maybe I'll just grab one of these soft round brushes and then use it as an eraser. This is not something I would typically do, but I'm gonna go with it. All right, so I'm gonna use this soft brush to put out a little color in these bulgy veins. I think that adds a nice little form to that. Okay, so now I want to add in a little bit of shadow because that's something that is on a lot of these characters, not all of them, but I think we could do a little bit. We could just use a little bit of shine on some of this blue stuff, and then I think we are good to go. Tiny little highlight on the eyes. There it is. I think it worked. I just want to thank you for coming on this journey with me. I think it was worth it. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. We should do this again, huh? Let me know in the comments if you have some other character suggestions that you think I should do. Well, if you're still here, I have to assume that you enjoyed this. So, in that case, why don't you check out this other video where I draw some characters from the most recent Zelda game and talk a little bit more about my style and how I stylize other things into my own style. All right, good talk, bub. Was that a good Wolverine?